Hey guys, Justin here. Today I'll be showing the beginners and experienced whip makers on how to make this 6-foot target whip. So I hope you guys learned something. Here we go.
Justin Hall of JJ House Whips.
Hey guys, Justin here. Welcome to the Target Whip tutorial. Now this is full length, and I'm going to make this Target Whip right here. I'll show you guys how to do it from the ground up. It's a lot of material, of course, but I'm going to explain right now what you guys need. So this video is going to be for beginners and experienced whip makers. So you need a whip making, that's good, because I'm going to show you how to make this awesome target whip. So what we have here, we're going to start with the rod. This is actually something that's called music wire. We call it spring steel. But what happens is that it's basically like piano wire, but really thick. But it bends and it springs back. And this is 3/16 of an inch diameter. And it's gonna be a little harder to find this one, but eBay and Amazon also sell it. It's a 36-inch piece. They're kind of pricey, but that is actually what we're going to be using. But if you can't get a hold of something like that, you can always use a 1/4-inch steel rod for this video, just as kind of like an alternative. If you can't find that, you can use this, and this is actually spring steel too. So, but just a regular 1/4-inch steel rod will work. If you can't find the spring steel, the 3/4-inch, 3/16-inch spring steel, and that number is 509. So, got that out of the way. That's gonna be our handle core. It's pretty late tonight. I got a lot of cats running around the house here. All right, let's do our paracord first. Okay, so I got a spool here, but that's just for show anyways. We're gonna need 200 feet of 550, and that can be pretty much any brand you guys want, but I prefer Paracord Planet for the 550 paracord with the core in. So 200 feet of that, and then we'll need 200 feet of 275 paracord, or 3/32. And this is Atwood. This one's Paracord Planet. They're basically the same cord, same dimensions. So 200 feet of that, of the 275. And pick colors you like combining. Not so much for this one. Now this is 100 feet of 95 paracord. And that'll be for our core. And then we have micro and nano paracord. Now, try to match that with one of the 275s. It'll look better in the end. I got some right here of the micro paracord. to match up to the purple, because that's going to be on the overlay. This one's actually going to be in the core, the second belly. So either nano or micro. It's depends on the size of your knot, but just say micro, and it's Atwood brand again. But you could go nano if you want to. So, and as we go through here, let's see here. Nylon thread. You're gonna need some of that to make the crackers and tie up the cord with the BBs. So you can either use that, or you can get the Dyneema. Now this one I have, this is some new material, new to me. It's, I've used Dyneema before, but this one's actually from Germany. It's super strong Dyneema Extreme Tech. I got it on eBay. It wasn't cheap. I think it was like 30 bucks for the whole spool, but that's a lot of crackers right there. So if you guys want to get something like that, that's another option. But T70 bonded nylon thread, that's what this is. That's your standard. Now this is something we call artificial sinew, just black. You'll need a spool of that, about 300 feet. This is a spool. Measure, tape measure, and here's a ruler. Okay, here's our BBs. I've switched. Hornady, Black Diamond. These are anodized BBs. That way they won't rust out, and they slide in a lot smoother because they're anodized. So they work out real well. Got a cup to pour them in so you don't make a mess. Gorilla Glue, of course, gonna have that. Needle nose pliers, wire snips, a hammer. That's just a small hammer. You can get a tack hammer. Pliers, again, or channel locks, I mean. These are forceps, or hemostats. A lighter, a fid. Now this is something I made. A lot of guys make some fancy ones, but I just made it out of a screwdriver. So just made the tip. It was a flathead screwdriver, but I just tapered it in and sanded the sides down, and it turned out real nice. It works real well. So this is a nail that I sharpen the tip on, and it's used to attach the crackers. This is a micro or nano paracord permalock needle. Now this one's stainless steel, so if the paracord breaks off in there, you just heat it up until it melts all the nylon out of it, which is really nice. So moving on, razor blades, gotta have those. So they don't get mixed up. Razor knife. Another nail. Scissors, of course. A pen and a marker. That's just to mark the core. A little help there. Definitely get some hockey tape on eBay. Now this is Howie's. It works pretty well. Usually get it in a 3-pack. Some brad nails. I also have the stapler to go with the brad nails. usually end up using the hammer to pound the brad nails the rest of the way in, but it works out real well. Hacksaw, belt sander, one that you can turn upside down like that. I usually put a towel underneath it so it's not vibrating all over, but one that you can turn on, and it has a locking mechanism so it stays running, so it can be run upside down. Now this is a lot cheaper than buying a sanding wheel or anything like that. This was $50 at Walmart. So the belts I do recommend. That one's a 120 on there grit, and this is 80. But definitely go to Home Depot or Menards and get the Diablos. They're a lot more durable than some of the other brands, so check it out. So you need a piece of leather, not real thick. This one's about maybe a 1/16 of an inch thick, about what, 2 to 3 ounce. 1 or 2 pieces of that. This is just for the cap of the whip on the back end. So you can go black, you get any color leather you want for that. Just a little scrap piece there. Straight edge. This dowel rod, in case you want to make your knots on them. This is a 1.25 inch. You can build your knot on this, and it's a lot more easy to manipulate instead of being on the whip. So you can actually move this around. You can cut them shorter, so it's just a little spot. It does help. Hacksaw, definitely. Cutting board, but it's also my rolling board, which I've had forever. And this is, let's see here. We're getting into the new material here. Now we're to this. This is a form of like neoprene, something that Nick uses in his whips. This stuff is only like a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch thick, right around that. And I've been using it for the foundations of the knots now. It's basically like a chunks of a tire or mud flap kind of thing. You get them in. It comes in like a 3 foot wide sheet. So all you need is really a foot of it, and then you got a piece about that big. So the stuff works out really well. Smells weird, but a lot easier than buying leather, or cheaper. Okay, and now we're on to the sinker cord. Now I've actually switched from using this stuff because the sinker cord is supposed to be 3/8. This one is, and it's more like 1/2 inch. And this is the old stuff I used to get, which I don't get anymore, but that was 3/8 too. So it's obviously not the same dimensions, but so you can find that on eBay or Amazon. And that'll be for the core material and also sleeving. This is going to have some different stuff here. I also have some new material here. Now this is catfish slinky weight material. Now they use this for fishing, but when it comes to whips, this stuff is really handy. I haven't seen anybody else using this stuff. I kind of just stumbled along it, and it works out really well for sleeving the whip to make it tapered, and it's really strong too. But the cool thing about it is this stuff is, it expands. So when you put it on something, you get like almost like a Chinese finger trap. See that? And then snaps back. So it works really good for making a nice taper down the whip, which is exactly what we're going to do. And if you guys want to pick this up, you can get it in 50 feet, which is what I got here, but I just wrapped it around an old spool, or 10 feet. And it's 3/8 inch catfish slinky weight material. I got it on eBay. So check that stuff out. It really works out well. If not, we can always use hockey tape to taper the whip. So alright, there's that. And right here we got a couple knives. I always gotta have a couple knives around. You obviously don't need something this aggressive. Just a good utility knife. It's always good to have. And that's basically it. That's all you need to make this whip. So let's get started, guys. Alright, we have our core rod in the vise. And this is the 3/16 inch music wire. It's a K&S music wire. That's what you want to look up on Amazon. So we're measuring 14 inches. And then we're gonna cut it with the hacksaw. Wherever that's at. Oh, there it is. And after this, we'll get the belt sander out. Now, this is pretty strong steel compared to a regular rod. There we go. Helps if you got a new blade. Alright, so take that out of the vise and we'll go to the belt sander. Okay, so we have our belt sander ready to go. Got a towel underneath it. Now this is one you can actually turn upside down, so the nice thing about it is when you turn it on, like this, it's got that push button right there to hold it on. So make sure you have safety glasses and hearing protection of some kind. And let's see here. Around. That way it's not blowing at me. That way all the crumbs blow that way. So, all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to round the tip. And I made a mark about a ½ inch in. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Let's round both ends so they're not sharp first. Okay, I have my hearing protection on and my safety glasses on. We're going to turn it on. Alright, so I grinded down the tip so it's a little more pointy. We still got a little bit of work to do right there, but it's as easy as just turning on the belt sander. And what we're going to do is we're going to notch it right here. And to get that notch, what I usually do is this, like right in the corner here, and just spin it as the belt's spinning. So it has like a stopper, so the paracord doesn't just come off with the BBs and everything that are in the core right there. So stay tuned. Okay, so we have our tip ground down. You can see it has a little lip there now to hold the core with the BB stacked real nicely. And I also did down the whole rod so it doesn't so it has some grip. So let's get our core made and attach it. And I need you to cut 4 feet of the 550 paracord. And if you didn't ground it down enough, you'll know right now, because we're going to test it. If it slides over the top of that for at least about 3/4 of an inch or an inch, right around there. So it slides over it real nice. And that's exactly what we're looking for. And now we're going to shot load this with BBs for about 5 inches. Okay, so we have our core, which we're going to shot load. Get a razor blade out, T70 thread, cut about 2 feet off. I got that in my hand right now. What we're going to do, we're going to measure for about, let's just say 7 inches. No, I'm sorry, let's do 8 inches. So right there, you can mark it if you want. Close enough, you know. So what we're going to do, we're going to tie a little stopper right there. So you take this, let's see here. Gotta turn my music off every time, otherwise I'll get copyrighted or whatever that is. So it's really quiet. Okay, so we tied it right there. That's our mark. Tighten it up real good. And then just tie it again on the opposite side. Just like that. Don't pull too tight because this stuff likes to break. And then hold that piece out of the way, the short piece right there, and do a couple wraps is what we want to do to ensure that that doesn't move at all. So about 6 wraps, and that should be good. And then do the same thing and tie it off again. Okay, you can trim that, get your razor blade. And now we're going to put the BBs in. That's our next mission here. Alright. I need to quit saying alright. Here we go. Anyways. So we got these anodized BBs. I just poured a bunch in here. That way they're not spilling all over and you're not making a mess. So what I do is I usually do one at a time since we're only doing 5 inches. Which turns out to be about, I think it's 25 BBs. Maybe 30. So see what I'm doing here? It kind of flowers out. And this is the Permalock needle. The micro stainless steel. So you just slide them in. They go in pretty easy and some on the thicker 550. And then we'll work those down after we get a good chunk in there. So we've got 15 BBs in there or so. And to get them down there to where we tied it off for the shot load, usually just work them like this, one at a time, but I think I'm gonna grab a pliers here. Alright. Or the wire cutters, they work good too. Don't pinch the cord, just pinch it enough to where it actually snags that BB and pull. And they should go down. There we go. That should be... It's going to be tight, because that's what we want. We don't want it to be loose. So, work those down using your wire cutters. Hope you guys are enjoying yourself so far. Once you get a couple going, then it's a lot easier. So, make sure they're tight. It might fray the cord a little bit, but it ain't gonna hurt it, so. And then these ones up here, I got 4 left. See, I'm barely pinching it. You can hear it pop. See how I do that? And we got a couple more to go before we hit our 5 inches of BBs. I grabbed yellow instead. That way you guys can actually see it and what's going on here. So we're right in the groove. This is tight. These BBs aren't ticking against there. That's what we want. So tie it again. T70 thread once again. So I just tied it real quick right there. Run that up the top here. And here's what we're going to do. You have to go around slow at first, or make one pass and make sure you go back over itself. Otherwise it'll just spin and it'll actually unravel and spin around that. So now you can pull tight. Not too tight because sometimes the T70 likes to break. What we're doing, we're just securing it even more to the handle, which this is something I always do. And it's not going to make it real bulky yet or anything like that. So we got that one right here. Now set that off. Keep a little tension on it if you can. I just pinned it against the vise there. So we're going to tie it off again. Pull tight. Snug. Need one more pass here. Now I got it. Alright. There we go. Get your razor blade. Trim that. So that's really secure. That's not coming off. And I got a razor blade here. Let's see. Trim that. And then take a lighter. Here's what I do. Melt those tips and then rub them in. Flatten them right away. There you go. And don't worry about that, the fluff right here. That's all going to get covered. So that's basically the core for our whip right here. And now we're going to do the first belly. Alright, so you guys got the lengths that you need to cut the 95 paracord at, and that's going to be our first belly. And our artificial sinew will be involved in this part. So cut your 95 paracord to length and we'll get to it. Alright, I have my strands cut to length. I'm going to show you one on how I got these. And I got in paracord, if you're not familiar. Most of them have white strands in the middle. The 95 only has one, and this is the shortest strand here. This is the 5-foot strand. All you do is pull, and it kind of gets scrunched up like that, and then you just work that out. Keep it pinched right there, and pull it through. So the 5-footer was the easiest one, that's why I did it. But the 10-footer, that'll take a little bit more time. Anyways, and then once you got it, and you take the end, we're going to offset it by, where's the ruler? About 3 or 4 inches. 4 inches is what I did to these, so on average. Because we're going to go back through and trim it anyways, so. So that's the center now, where the loop is. It's actually offset at the bottom. to encourage the taper here. So we have our 5 strands cut, and if you guys ended up doing the 1/4" steel rod, you might have to add an extra 95 in there to actually go all the way around the rod. So these are all center offset. So you take all these loops, and every one of them should be offset by a little bit. What you're going to do is take that, put it on the end, have your hockey tape handy. That's a little better. We're just going to tape this on there for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. Because we're going to make it perfect. So our rod is actually 14 inches long. Just make sure they're all in the middle, because I'll show you what we're going to do here in a second. Okay, now you can tighten it down. Go into our pass, make it tight, and trim that. I trim it and fold it because that way you could take it off later on if you had to. Anyways, now that we've got that, okay, it looks like a mess, obviously. Take this and you start organizing the strands so it appears that they go all the way around it. Okay? And now it looks good. We're going to take our artificial sinew, we're going to pinch this back in the vise just about a 1/2 inch from the top of the rod. Tight. Now what we're going to do, take our artificial sinew, loop it around once, and then cross over the top of it, pull that tight, and now make sure your strands are going to run straight, because we don't want any to be messed up. We want the whip to be round, is what we're going for. So you're going to do a crisscross pattern. Kind of hard, I don't have any room here. Okay. Pull your strands out straight across the other leg. What I like to do is go down, and what we're going to do is we're just kind of spiral down the whole handle, pulling these strands like this, and just kind of working them down. This part can be pretty time consuming if you're new to it. So now what I'm doing is taking that, because the artificial sinew is waxed, so I'm actually trying to pull on the strands as they go down, as I tighten down on them at the same time. Just keep working your way down. And I'm pulling pretty tight since it's a core. And we're on the handle still, so we're going to be pulling tight with this artificial sinew. Now if you actually accidentally screw up and let this go, just back it up a couple passes. Let's see, we're doing good. Just keep doing that until we get to the end of the rod. And we'll pick up from there. Okay, so we've reached the bottom to where the BBs are and where the handle ends. Now, when you're doing this, when we transition into it, just keep on going the same way you've been doing it, like that. Just kind of work your way around. And you see I'm holding it right here, all the strands in one hand. That's how I've been doing it the whole time. I didn't really show that. But I kind of tug on them at the same time, even though I'm trying to pull with the wax artificial sinew. Okay? Just kind of combing it down. Alright, now we're going to go over the top of that, where we tied it off. You just keep going. Keep straightening your strands out, make sure they're flat. And this is in the vise pretty tight actually, so we're almost to the end. We're going to hit the bees pretty quick here. And I want you to keep going really tight on this. And I think we're in the BBs. If not, we'll measure the handle and make a mark, okay? Oh, we're here, yeah. So once you get to the BBs, I want you to keep it tight, just like you were for the handle portion. I'm going to take a break for a sec here. Just set that off the side, tension on it. Where's the tape measure and a marker? Alright, find the top of the handle, which we got 14 inches. And there it is right there. Take a marker or a pen and mark it so you know that's where the rod ends, okay? Now, continue for about 2 inches at the same tension. Cat hair everywhere. So this isn't really the weaving portion, this is more of a straight run, but we are getting something out of this. We're getting a taper down the whip. And this 95 paracord is really light and really soft. So that's about 2 inches from where the rod ends. Okay, now you need to go back up. Now in reverse, make sure your strands stay somewhat straight. Keep it tight. So we're going back up. Not all the way to the top of the whip, but... Alright, there's our rod mark. What we do, we go for about another inch above that. Pull tight now. You can see that's where it attaches. So that's pulled tight. You're going to continue pulling tight. Now we're going to go back down again. And I'm gapping them about, what, a quarter inch every time I go down. So we're back off it again, and now we're not going to pull as tight. Now we're going to pull... Oh, that's great. Sorry guys. Hopefully you've seen that top part. We'll snug it up right there for a sec. Not too snug, because I'm not pulling tight now, so... So now we're just going to go a nice light wrap. Not super tight. We're going to hop off the BBs for about I think it's about 3 inches farther down. And now my gaps are getting a little wider, but okay, now we're past the BBs. And the strands are just kind of free hanging. Now we're going to go 3 inches past that. Right about right here. On our straight run of 95 paracord. Almost there. Let me there we go, guys. Okay. I'm gonna pay attention to the camera more, apparently. So I'm getting looser and looser as I go. I gotta tell you that right now. So I'm gonna stop right there. And that's about, if you guys are looking for measurements, 6 inches past the 2 inches of pulling it tight. Okay? Now we need to go back up. Keep it loose, not tight. And there's no point in pulling tight because we did our first pass loose. Not super loose, just snug, I guess. Try to keep that same tension, and now start thinking about pulling a little tighter. And once we get back to the top of that, let me move this whip down. How am I going to do that with one hand? There we go. Alright. Make sure that's tight. So right here. Now we're back on the tight part again, where we have to pull tight. So do the same thing, pull it tight again. We're creating a nice transition from the beginning. We're back onto the handle. I'm pulling really tight as you can go. See, it's mushing the artificial sinew to the outside. So what you do is just push down and smash it back in. So, all right, we're at the top. And it looks good right there. Take your scissors. Snip that, and we're just going to double over it because it's waxed. So pull that tight and leave a little hanging. I don't cut it too short because we're gonna plait over the top of this. So we have our core all done right there, and you can see the strands as you look down the whip. They all have different lengths. We're gonna trim those up and cut them to size. But that is basically the first belly. Let's go to the next step. Alright, so we're gonna taper it now. Got your tape measure out, and we're about an inch down from the top of the handle, because that part we're not actually using. So we're looking at a 13-inch handle overall. We're going to cut it at let's see here. Let me get you in frame. So 1 inch down from the handle on this side. And that should be good. Here's 4 foot. We're going to cut it at 4'3" inches. Just snip it off. We got a little waste, but we're going to have more waste, you'll see. Stuff's cheap. And that core right here, the one that's the 550 paracord, we're going to cut that one back to 3 foot, alright? And as we go down, we pick out our strands. Here, let's see. Oh, I gotta turn that music off. I got that again.
Yeah.
Alright. So organize this so these flare out. All the different lengths. Let's do that right now. Alright, now you see what I did? It kind of looks like roots now of a tree. We got this one right here. So we're going to cut him back first. Right around the 2 foot mark. Right there. And then as you go, I'm going to do about 2-inch segments right now. 2'2", 2'4". Try to keep track. 2'6". 2'8". And the next one, 2'10". You can see that taper coming along here. In this one, we're going to switch. We're going to do about 3 foot segments, or I mean 3-inch segments. So it looks like 3'1". And this one's 3'4". And then our last one that we're going to trim is actually going to be about 4 inches away from that. So instead of 3'4", it's going to be 3'8". Okay? And now you can see what we're going for. And this core one right there. So now as it travels down, it gets smaller and smaller. And the transition a lot more streamlined when we get out here. Okay? So that's that. Throw your scraps away. Alright, grab your cutting board. Hopefully one about this size. 2x4s, or 2x6 will work for this portion. We're going to roll this whip, but not too much because there's not really much to roll. But rolling it on the counter is not going to be easy. There we go. The wax sinew will grab, and it's going to bind. It's going to get all of our tapered strands bound up over there. But this is just to make it cylindrical. Okay? Nothing too crazy. I'm giving it a little pressure here, because that's what I do. Everything feels good. I don't really feel any problems. Might have to do something there. Let's see. Not too bad. Yeah, don't push too hard. But anyways, that'll be alright. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to get our Chinese finger trap stuff, and we're going to use that next. Pause the video, take a break, okay? Alright, so we're going to measure our handle first. And now we're going to need about a 15-inch piece of Catfish Slinky weight material, 3/8 inch. You can get it in 10 foot or 50 foot on eBay. Stuff works awesome for making the whip tapered. So, cut your first 15-inch piece, and then we're also going to cut one at 6 inches. Okay? So we get our pieces cut, 1/16, 1/15 inches. Now this stuff is really cool. It's like a Chinese finger trap. I always thought that's pretty neat. So what we're going to do, we're going to sleeve over the top of this one right now. And that's not always easy to do with this stuff, but if you go like this and just get it started in there, it should go. Just as long as it doesn't hit the sides, because then it wants to do the same thing to the one we're trying to slide through. Which I think it just did, but we're almost to the back. Come on, make it through. Let's see, we're almost there. Stuff's real tricky, but it's really nice once it's on the whip. If we can get that far. There we go. Okay. And it's going to do some weird stuff. It's going to get a little bound up in corners and stuff like that, but so we got our sleeve right there. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to the top of the whip. And now we already have that one on there, so we don't have to worry about it later on because it's a mess. So what you do, get it started and just slide it on. Stuff works awesome. So if you don't have this stuff, you can use hockey tape. What I would do is do one run 15 inches and then our next run, do one more run at 6 inches long if you don't have this stuff available. But if you do have it available, I definitely use it for this. So definitely get some, guys. You'll see what you can do with it. Okay, so we got that. Now what we're going to do, we're going to tape the top so it doesn't flare out anymore or flower out. Just going to tape over the top of that. Make sure you can see the top of your rod core still, or you know where it's at. Very important. So just tape that off. Right there, I'm about an inch above it, so perfect. Now what that's going to do is going to create a taper down the whip directly from the handle, from the top. And you guys wrote a frame again, that's great. No. And now what we're going to do is get ready for our second belly. Now one other thing you can do is I trimmed it off so I can see the back end of the rod here. Take the artificial sinew and I want you to wrap the back end of it. And this can be tight. So if you do that, it really helps to secure it so this stuff doesn't move around. Take a razor blade. Okay. So that's good right there. Alright, now when you're gutting the 275, this is the 3 for the second belly, the longest ones, the 315 footers. What I do is I tie it up and then tie this to a hanging on a doorknob, and then after you, let's see here, something to hook it to. After you hook it, you just pull and then take all that's scrunched up and slide your way down. And just keep working it like that. And then if you just keep doing that and work your way down, see it's all scrunched right there. Work that all the way to the end of the 15 feet. You usually get about 6 inches off every time. And sometimes you get a good run at it and it comes out real nice, nice and easy. So just do that for stripping these strands. This is the Atwood 275, the 3 32nds. So it has like 4 strands in the middle of each strand. 4 of the little ones. Some of them have 5. This brand has 4, so makes it a little easier for the cores to come out. So do that, and I'll see you back at the vise. We're going to do something to the core still, even after we sleeved it. We're going to put some artificial sinew over the top of this and run it down to probably about there. And that should help this lay down a little bit better, this catfish slinky weight material, because it's kind of puffy in spots. So, and we're looking for a nice taper, so it's definitely going to help it out. So let's put it back in the vise and do that. And I also might have overestimated on the 550. I originally said 200, but you probably need about 120 or 130 to be in the safe zone. So the extra paracord I have here, I was actually going to make 2 Target whips to begin with, but I ended up just doing 1 because I didn't have enough material at the end. So that's another thing I overestimated on. But if you want to make 2, I would suggest getting 300 feet of the 550 and just double whatever else we had. So if you guys don't have a vise, you can always use a C-clamp. So, but having a vise, and I built this custom bar stool deal for it, so it really helps out a lot. And now we're going to go over the top of this catfish weight material. I don't know why they put that slinky part in there, but I guess that kind of relates to the this portion of it. So now it's like spring loaded. Alright, so we're going to go down the whip, and then we'll probably just drop it off at the end here. I don't think I'm going to go back up, but I might. Let's see here. We could probably do 1 wrap down. And when you wrap this, you want to make sure it's super tight, because we're going for a nice round whip. We're not going for a square whip. We're not going for a lumpy whip. So we want it to be nice and round if we can. And as you go down, kind of pull on this material right there, then pull on it again over the top. Just ensure that that's fully stretched out. So I'm going to be out of frame here in a sec, and I'll just move it up on the vise. Because we're getting to that 6-inch mark. And don't tighten it too tight right here, because that stuff is pretty grippy. Should be fine. And once we get to this part, make sure those are laying flat. There's gonna be a couple little spikes sticking out right there, but it won't be too bad. Just keep going down. I'll meet you at the end here. Alright, so we made it to the end of the catfish material. Or in probably most of the cases, it's going to be the tape. And you can go over the top of the tape. because we're just trying to make that taper from the beginning down. So we made it to the end here. Go over the top of that, and now we're off the material and pull tight for a second here, and it looks like we're gonna get loose again. All right, now just tie it, just make it, don't pull tight now because we want this to be the flexible part. Okay, so I went down past it about 4 inches, and now we're gonna go back up the whip. Don't pull tight. Just go around, trying to fill those grooves in if you can, where you can see the cord underneath. All right, now we're gonna get back to the hard part, where we want it to be pulled tight. And then when we get back to the material here, the catfish material, we're gonna pull tight, which is doing real good. Now we're gonna move it down. And pull tight again. So all I'm doing is pushing against it. We're making a cross pattern. You can see that. I'm going right over the top and pulling real tight. And you can kind of see that swell right here. How it's kind of swelled right there. We're going to take care of that with the next belly. So go back to the top, keep that going tight. Once you get back to the top, I'll show you how to tie it off. Okay, so we made it back to the top. I left the music on again. I think I already did that once or twice. So we're very close. And you can see where we started right there, how I overlapped that one. We're just going to do the same thing. We're pull tight. And now, scissors, razor, knife, razor blade, regular knife. Cut that. And just loop back through it. Because waxed, so it likes to lay down nice and tight. Then we can trim that up. Just rub them in. So roll that. You already see me roll once. What you want to do is roll that, and it should be good to go. Our first belly is complete. You can see where that 6 inch drops off right there. We're already creating that taper down the whole whip. But we do have that bulge spot right there, which we will fix. Don't worry.